Do you want to swim faster in breaststroke or fly immediately without training more? Then you need to look at your turns. Every single wall is a chance to gain time or lose it. In fact, for a lot of master swimmers, the difference between winning and losing isn't decided in the middle of the pool, it's decided at the walls. I'm Eetu Karvonen, and today I'm breaking down the 4 phases of a perfect open turn so you can start turning faster the very next time you hit the pool. We'll dial in your approach, forming the tightest possible ball for rotation, how to spin the body with precise arm movement timing, and the push-off. Plus, how to practice the turn so the skill holds up under race pressure. And if you like deep dives into swimming technique and training, you'll love my free ebook, Training Principles for Master Swimmers, and you can grab your copy from the link in the description. Alright, back to the walls. Turns are a hidden goldmine for free speed, but most swimmers either ignore them or assume that turning hundreds or even thousands of times per week during normal practice is good enough. But before we even touch the mechanics, please ask yourself an honest question. How much time and focus are you actually giving your turns in training? And I'm not talking about the times you try to remember to perform good turns during your training sets. I mean 100% dedicated reps for turn improvement. Because I know the intent of doing crisp turns inside your metabolically hard sets might be there, but we all know what actually happens. The moment fatigue kicks in, turn mechanics and that explosive snap are usually the first things to fall apart, and even subconsciously, the walls just seem like the best place to get some rest as you're grasping for air. And if you only ever practice turns in that state, you're rehearsing the wrong pattern. Because the reality is that unless you train the turns with separate training sets within your practice sessions, with 100% intent on improving them and only them, you most likely have room to improve in both the mechanics and the specific fitness qualities needed to perform them effectively. Because you see, competitive swimming is really 2 different sports. When you're swimming between the walls, it's linear, cyclical endurance or power sport depending on your event, and at the walls, it's an explosive gymnastic type discipline where short, explosive, highly coordinated, precise movements win. And these 2 different halves of swimming need completely different training approaches, because you wouldn't ask a gymnast to throw a precise somersault with some rotations after jogging for 30 minutes. That's exactly how you would develop very sloppy skills and probably invite some kind of injury. And that's the thing, in gymnastics, a sloppy acrobatic movement might cause immediate pain at the landing, and a less than 100% focused high jump means you don't clear the bar. But in swimming, there is no immediate pain associated with half-hearted turns. Instead, the agony is kind of delayed to a competition when someone else surges off the wall and you're suddenly a body length behind. And that lack of immediate feedback is one of the reasons why we persist on training them within the wrong environment, patterning the wrong shapes, wrong timing, and most of all, repeating the turns with the wrong kind of effort. An effort that allows us to perform them with metabolically heavy sets where the brain is fried and the body just wants oxygen. And that pattern that's getting the most training is kept by your nervous system when you step to the blocks at your race. So there's zero mystery there. So while the technical cues in this video are important, what is even more important is the way you learn and train them. And yes, eventually you need to connect the explosive walls to your race speed swimming and learn how to maintain quality under fatigue. But while you are still refining the skill of the turn, you need to isolate them. Train them fresh with 100% deliberate focus. And if you can build in immediate feedback, a simple 5 meters into the wall and 10 meters out from the wall time, or a friend filming a few reps, it's even better. Because I've coached high-level swimmers who drop more than a second in their 5 meters into the wall and 10 meters out from the wall performance with just 1 month of practice, just by engaging them to refine their movements within a training set that actually allowed them to concentrate fully on the turns, flipping many races to their advantage. So what does a good turn practice look like? First, we split the skill into small chunks so your brain knows exactly what to look for. And that won't make you fast by itself, but it lets you rehearse the key moments of the full turn in bite-sized pieces so you actually understand what you're chasing. And once you have a clear image of the turn mechanics, run the full turn at slow speeds at few times, but since the speed of the movement is part of the skill, pretty soon you should progress into almost maximal efforts. Because there is no slow somersaults on land, it's the same in the water. Learning slow turns is almost a useless skill. And then you rack up some reps. Because 10 focused reps a couple times per week is probably better than nothing, but it is not enough to erase the imprint of hundreds of thousands of sloppy turns in your training history. So if you really want to change occurring, think in terms of hundreds of high-quality reps over a month done in the right learning environment. Short entries to the wall, 100% focused crisp movements, and no added complexity of swimming in and out of the walls. And as you progress, you of course want to add the transition parts of measuring your strokes into the wall and performing your underwaters after the turns. But here's the thing. I think most master swimmers can dedicate 15 minutes 2 to 3 times a week for a month to practice only turns. As after that block, you can bring the increased ability and awareness to any set that you're doing. It still doesn't mean that every turning practice has to be perfect, aggressive, and snappy. As a general rule, turn however you need to during your warm-ups and longer aerobic sets. It can actually be better to separate training turns from race speed turns so your nervous system isn't trying to run 2 competing patterns. And no, doing easy energy-saving turns on your aerobic 200s won't mess up your racing turns as long as you've uploaded enough fast reps that your brain can tell the difference between go time and just logging meters. Now you got the practice plan, so let's start refining the mechanics, and we begin where every fast turn starts, the approach. Because your last stroke sets your track. Unlike your normal stroke, where you press the body slightly down to shape the catch, we want your approach into the wall have a slight upward angle in your body line. Think of arriving to the wall with your hands a touch higher than your hips. If your stroke count lands perfectly and you're still carrying velocity of a kick, just recover the arms, let the lower body sink a bit, and you'll naturally get that gentle up angle. If you're a bit long and need to glide, press the chest slightly against the buoyancy and project the arms up instead of taking one extra panicked stroke. Use that little bounce from the water to set your angle. If your stroke up too close and jam the wall, there's not much to do. That's why 9 times out of 10, it's better to glide than snap in one more stroke. And why do we want that upward angle? It shortens the distance your legs have to travel to reach the wall, and it lets your upper body drop back to start the rotation. Approaching flat or worse with a downward angle forces a longer, heavier rotation powered by you. With upward angle, the rotation begins the instant your hands touch the wall with the help of gravity. So less distance to cover and less time wasted. Now we're at the moment of truth, the ball. The instant both hands touch, you should have only one thought. Shape your body into the smallest ball you can. Tuck the chin, round the spine, and most importantly, drive the knees under yourself so the feet climb high on the wall. Maximal hip and knee flexion here pays you back 2 ways. It makes the rotation quicker and it sets your feet higher on the wall so the push-off angle is more controlled. A quick word about breathing. Most swimmers will figure it out naturally, but the key is to stay in the ball. Rotate the head just enough to the side to get a quick breath and never lift it. Hiking the head up breaks the ball shape, which not only slows the rotation but also introduces an upward force that you then have to counterbalance by sinking the legs, making it much harder to get the feet high enough on the wall for that explosive, slightly downward angled push-off. And as you're shaping your body into that tight ball, one hand stays on the wall while the other begins to spin to the turn side. So keep the non-turn side hand in contact with the wall, and with the turn side arm, snap the elbow straight back along your rib cage. That elbow drive is your first lever. Combined with the tight ball shape, it tips your small, compact mass toward your side and starts the lateral rotation, without you twisting the torso, yanking your head, or turning your shoulders. And here's a simple field drill so your body understands these first two phases. Take a short glide by either pushing off from the bottom or by kicking into the wall and set that slight upward angle. Touch with two hands, and as soon as you touch, compress into the tightest pull you can and drive the turn side elbow back while keeping the other hand fixed on the wall. Finish with your feet high on the wall and the turn side arm parked at your side in a fully bent position. Don't worry about the other arm yet. Don't look for the bottom. Don't try to yank yourself around with your head. Let the combination of the ball shape plus the elbow drive create the rotation. And if you find yourself lifting up, neck extending, back arching, you lost the ball. If you find yourself twisting to get flat before you actually rotate it, you're trying to cheat the system. Your job is pure rotation, not height or twist. The elbow drive is the trigger and the ball is the engine. As you're learning the mechanics, it might be worth of your time just to rehearse these two phases as they set up for the next two. However, once you have figured out how to trust keeping yourself in the ball and let the elbow drive take care of the sideways rotation, it is time to move on into the next phase, which I call the arm turn. So as your tucked body begins rotating from that elbow drive to the back, it's time to release the hand that stayed on the wall and spear it beside your head. Think short levers, fingers first into the water, sliding over and sideways through the surface. So don't swing a straight arm over the air and slap it down. That creates drag, kills the rotation, and sets up a wrong push-off angle. Spearing the arm continues the sideways rotation so you land as close to prone as possible for the push-off. You won't be perfectly flat and you don't need to be, but you should be moving there without forcing it with your head or body. There's a second reason the spear goes down next to your head. It sets the push-off angle. As the spear finishes, your feet have reached their end range on the wall. If you maintain a tight ball, your head and shoulders are now horizontally aligned with your feet and the spear is pulling the upper body slightly downward. That gives your push-off a clean, low-drag line into your dolphin kicks or your pull-out. If your underwaters are a strength, you can spear a little steeper and ride a deeper line. If underwaters are not your weapon, spear a touch flatter and keep it shallower. The spear determines the glide angle. And now the turn is almost completed. Only the most important thing missing, the push-off. And for me, this is simple. Your goal is just to project maximum power into the wall. And almost everyone intuitively knows how to jump as high as possible on land. And that's what the push-off is. A maximal vertical counter movement jump just with your body horizontal and in the water. So whatever you do, just keep in mind that this is the goal. Now, some questions on the details will undoubtedly bubble up. When do your arms streamline? Only when they arrive beside your head and in rhythm with the leg push. So don't chase streamline early. If you extend the arms too soon, you lose 10 to 15% of the total jumping power because the arms can't add their momentum to the jump. Let the hands meet at your shoulders and then start opening up from both ends. Plant the feet, extend the hips, extend the knees, and drive the arms into a streamline just before you rebound off the wall with power. To feel the correct rhythm, all you need to do is to jump on land and investigate what happens naturally. First, you will dip down to pre-stretch the tendons and then bounce up with force upwards from there. And just before your feet take off, the arms will punch up to help with the projection upward. And it is the exact same movement pattern, or as close as you can get to it, in the water as well. Because almost no one jumps with their knees glued together or from their toes. But that's exactly what we see at the walls and in races. So set the feet naturally under the hips, let the ankles flex into the wall to preload that elastic bounce, and then just jump into the angle your speared arm created, and only rotate to fully prone position during the glide to avoid any rotational forces causing you to leak forward momentum from your push-off. The easiest way to rehearse all of this is to chain it together. Glide in with an upward angle. Touch and compress into a tight ball. Drive the elbow. Spear beside the head. Only then load the wall with the legs and push. Glide. Feel how much more power you carry out of the wall when you don't rush the streamline and you don't twist flat while you're pushing off. Now, let's quickly talk about the 3 common mistakes you'll spot on video so you can fix them fast. The first is throwing a long straight recovering arm over the surface and slapping it down. That stops rotation and ruins the angle you just fought to set. The second mistake is trying to square yourself perfectly flat while your feet are still on the wall. That twists the body just before the push-off, so part of your force points sideways instead of straight ahead. Drive straight along the line you set, then finish rolling to the prone position during the glide. The third is streamlining early. If you got your hands in streamline before your push-off sequence, you've lost that extra arm contribution to your wall impulse and made it hard for yourself to express maximal power. Let the arms help the jump and then streamline. There you have it, the open turn in 4 distinct phases, each one giving you a clear focus point. And since the turn happens in less than a second, or at least that's our goal, go into the wall with only one phase in your mind. Because trying to focus on 4 different technical thoughts while turning is a guaranteed way to slow you down. And that's why you need high amount of quality repetitions. Do X amount of turns with the mantra approach up, then a few with the thought ball plus drive the elbow, and continue with spear sets my line, and finish the session off with repetitions where you're shouting to yourself, jump and glide. Because when you nail these 4 phases, the wall gives you speed instead of stealing it. It feels like you bounce out of the turn on rails. It's free speed, no extra laps, no extra fatigue, just better turns. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next technique breakdown, and if you want me to personally analyze and fix your turns or help you with any other aspects of swimming, check out my one-on-one coaching from the link in the description. We start out with a free 30-minute Zoom call to see how I can best help your swimming. See you on the next video.